Welcome back to Nid-life Crisis. I'm Niall, and in this week's video I'm going to be showing you how I've been making some dice trays for me and my hobby friends. There's 4 of us in our group. One is a towel collector, and as you'll see in the video there's also Necrons and Sisters of Battle, and I've tried to do a branded version for myself. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my subscribers for sticking with me. The YouTube gods haven't been very kind to me over the last few weeks, so I know most of you are here for the Orc content, so I'm pleased to say that I've been working on this truck. It's primed and ready to go, so the next video will be how I paint that in my Bad Moon scheme to go with the rest of my Orc army. So thank you all for sticking with it. Hope you enjoy the video. Like and comment below, and I'll see you at the end. I'm a carpenter by trade. I had a few offcuts of hardwood left over, so using the chop saw I got all the pieces cut ready for the dice trays. I've been doing carpentry for over 10 years now. Chop saw is a tool I have which saves me a lot of time, but obviously all of these cuts can be done with a handsaw. You just need a square, mark the top angle and then mark down the front to make sure you get a nice clean cut. To make sure the opposite side pieces are exactly the same length, I use one of the cuts I already have. Lie this piece on top of the spare piece of wood, and then you can butt up the edges and mark the line so they're the same. With all the pieces cut, I move on to assembly. I'm using Gorilla Glue for these because it dries really quickly and it gives a nice bond between bits of wood. Make sure you use plenty of glue. You can always wipe off the excess afterwards with a damp cloth. I get the bottom piece glued up and pushed into place. Then I dig out my roofing square to make sure that all the angles are 90 degrees. This will come in handy later on when I come to put the bottom board in, because I will be cutting that square and it will fit nicely, and obviously it looks better when all the angles are tight together. I have rebaited the bottom of the wood slightly deeper than the ply board that I'm going to use. This is so that it doesn't stick down below, to avoid any scratches on your dining room table or your hobby table. With the baseboard glued in place, I put some weights on top and leave it all to dry and set. While that's all drying, I get on with the felt. I decided quite early on when I decided to make these dice trays that I wanted to personalise them to each member of our little hobby group. You'll see that I've glued the felt to the cork in this instance. For the other dice trays I didn't do this because I found it to be a bit hard work and the adhesive spray went absolutely everywhere. I made some stencils out of card and printed them out. I'm planning to spray the paint onto the stencils with the airbrush so paper wouldn't really do the job. If you haven't got an airbrush, just dip a sponge in some paint and dab it on top of your stencil. Just take care not to move the stencil too much if the sponge sticks to the paper. When I designed the stencils, I printed on the outlines of the dice tray size that I was going to cut the wood to. So I'm just trimming that down so that the stencil fits nicely on top of the felt. Taking my time and working round thin coats, I work over the airbrush until I get a solid black colour. There are areas of the stencil that I've had to leave connected to the outside so that you don't get all the bits falling apart. Once the bulk of the stencil has been done, I lift up the stencil and turn it around and fill in all the gaps so that they are solid black as well. I try and take as much care as I can so that there's no paint overspill that ruins any of the work I've already done. I repeat the process for the towel. This is a much easier symbol to do. There's not a lot of infilling to do, but you can see that I have less solid tabs to stop the bits falling apart. You may also notice that in this instance the felt is still full size. As I said earlier, as I progressed into doing more of the dice trays, I changed the way I was doing it a bit. If you are going to make your own dice tray, I would suggest using this method, but obviously you're free to choose your own. Again, once the main stencil work has been done, I spin it around and infill all the bits and gaps that I've had to leave solid. So because I haven't stuck the felt to the cork, I've got to cut the cork to size. In this case, I hold it up to the dice tray and mark the straight edge and then cut it. The same goes for the felt. I find the lines on the cutting mat a great help for this because I just mark it with this knife, line it up with one so that I know I'm getting a nice 90-degree square cut. For the width, you can see I'm just sort of eyeballing against the symbol in the middle. You could measure and mark centre lines, but I found with my carpentry experience I've got a reasonable eye for lining up with centres. After gluing the felt to the cork, I glue the cork to the bottom of the dice tray. I've put a glove on to smooth it out because any little bit of residue from the adhesive just sticks to the felt, similar to cotton wool and PVA. I absolutely hate that feeling. Memories of early days as a child sticking cotton wool to cards for making things for parents. So with the bottom set, I get the sides ready. Again, holding them up to the dice tray to mark where I need to cut them. I decided in this instance I'd use PVA because it wasn't going to need to be heavily stuck, as it's not going to get a lot of wear and tear. Using an old paintbrush to spread it out and then sticking in the felt. I've got some sculpting tools that I use when I'm working on green stuff. I found in this instance a thin flat version that was ideal for pushing down the felt and making a nice neat joint with the bottom piece. Same process really for the other sides, working my way around to complete the dice tray. So as you can see, I've had a go at doing the Nid-life Crisis logo. I sprayed the black with the stencil and then came back over with white paint with a brush just to make it look a bit more like the logo. Take a quick look at the Sisters of Battle one as well. I was really happy with how this came out on the red background. Unfortunately, in trying to glue it to the cork, I sprayed a bit of adhesive onto the bottom of the red fabric, so I had to cut around it and improvise and put it into a black outline. Still, that's what this hobby is all about, working through, making mistakes and finding ways to get over them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and share, and also if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm aiming to get to 500 subscribers by Christmas, about 80 to go at this point. Thank you so much. See you for the truck in the next video.